Let me try saying that without smacking my face into my mic. Hey, thanks for joining the Escape With Me book club. Escape with me, Lizzie Sawyer.
And me, Sam Reiner.
Into our most recent read. Come with us as we evade reality and go into detail about a new book. We're going to be covering it from beginning to end, cover to cover, so there will be spoilers. Be warned.
Today we're going to Kentucky, United States. Originally published in 1983, The Queen's Gambit is a look into the reality of the intellectual sportsmanship and artistry in the world of chess. While Walter Tevis is mainly known for his work in sci-fi, he expertly tackles this coming-of-age novel which speaks on hard subjects of feminism, drug addiction, and alcoholism, as our heroine claws her way to the top to become the international champion. Its gripping subject matter was even made into a Netflix original drama miniseries, which is how this episode came to be. I don't think either of us knew of this book's existence before Netflix was like, hey, this is a thing. And then someone said, hey, did you know it's based on a book? No. And now we've read the book.
Well, at least for me, you were the one that was like, yeah, book. And I was like, dude, there's a book. We're reading it for the pod. That's awesome.
It's really good. You've actually seen the miniseries. I have not.
Yes, I have. And it's good. And I recommend it to anybody that wants a good drama.
I need to watch it mainly because you've said it's really close to the subject matter.
Oh, it's so close to the book. It's very, very close. They up the drug addiction a little bit and the alcoholism a little bit. They have her play with that a lot more in the final match, as well as in Paris. And they bring Towns back, even though he doesn't come back in the book. It is not alluded that Towns is gay in the book, like it is in the miniseries.
No. That's interesting. So that's the background for this. The rating on this is obviously adult. We've talked about a couple of things, like the drug addiction and alcoholism and all that. But there is also sexual assault and death of a parent, so if you prefer to stick away from those topics, stay away from both the miniseries and the book. He's not for you.
He's not for you.
He's okay, though. I don't think we can judge a book by its cover, mainly because I saw the trailer before I knew about the book, and you didn't even watch the trailer.
I haven't seen the cover of the book, so yeah, I didn't even watch it. I was like, ooh, she's cute. I want to watch that, because the actress is very cute. And I have been compared to the actress, says Beth Harmon, which I found very flattering because she's very cute.
I found a video where they were transforming the actress into Beth, and that was kind of cool because the actress has long blonde hair versus Beth's short brown, or I guess red. I don't know. It was just very different. Makeup and hair is very impressive.
Right?
But I was actually worried the book was going to be, and the series, because I'm kind of judging the trailer, I was worried it was going to be bad because I don't know, I live in a world where people are like, feminisms, but it's just cheap cash grabs to say that they did the thing, looking at you, Endgame.
Yeah, suck it, Endgame. I haven't watched that. I don't know what we're talking about.
It made me so mad. There was just this part where it was like, oh, we need to do the thing. And one of the girls is like, we got this. And then it took a minute for all of the women to just movie poster come out of nowhere. I was like, okay, cool, guys. Could you actually do the thing? That would be great. But yeah, so I didn't like that. I don't like blatant call outs to be like, look, feminism, when it's not actually doing anything. Cool, they can pose. Woo.
I didn't realize we were watching Baywatch.
Oh my gosh, really though. I prefer the Star Wars approach where Mandalorian, where instead of announcing that women are doing things, you actually just have women do things. Because what they do in The Mandalorian is the Mandalorian's a male, but he ends up in one point infiltrating a place and has 4 females with them. So the majority of the fight is these awesome women doing stuff. And they don't have to sit there and announce, look, women doing things.
Gasp!
We just want women to do the things. You don't have to tell us they're doing it. This book does not do that. And I'm very thankful. It was not this blatant rub against feminism, but not actually being it. Because I'm so jaded. I'm going to call myself out. I'm so jaded when a man is like, I'm going to write something about feminism. Not that they can't, but so many have burned me.
Pride and Prejudice, the musical.
I've been burned too many times. And you look at it as like, there's this dude from the 80s, and he cited his inspiration. He wanted to do a tribute to brainy women, and it was based off Bobby Fisher's rise into chess stardom in the 1972. So it's a book written by an old white man in the 80s based on a male chess player. It doesn't sound like it's going to automatically be good.
So you would think it would be very not great, because most things written by old white men in the 80s trying to be feminist whatever is very makeup and these shoes and, just not. It's not. But this is.
It is. I was very pleasantly surprised. And it made me like Walter Tevis a lot. He was ahead of his time.
He even had her think about when they're doing interviews and stuff. She's like, why does it matter if I'm a girl? Why does this matter?
Yes. And it's like, that is an actual woman's issue. It's like, oh, you're doing something. But the focus is like, oh, girl chess player. They'll be like, oh, girl. And she's like, no, chess player. And that's way more important. And so that still happens today is a woman will do something and it'll be like, oh, girl does this. It's like, no, focus on the thing they did, not the fact that they're a girl.
A woman did something. Yeah, we are capable of doing things. That's, yeah.
We have been doing them for millennia.
Secretly, we've been running the world for a while now.
Oh, goodness. So this is actually very good. I judged this all wrong. And that's nice to say. There are some times where you just want to be proved wrong.
I didn't judge it wrong. Just me personally, because I didn't really go into it. I was like, hey, let's go.
I don't know. I didn't trust it, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I mean, it was chess, and I was like, I remember liking chess when I was young, back when I was okay at it, because it was elementary school, and everybody was relatively okay at it at my level, and then I became an adult and never practiced past elementary school and realized that I am very bad at chess, but I know how it's played. I can play a game, and you will beat me. I promise. Unless you're my little sister, and then I can still beat you, because I have been doing so for years, though we haven't played in years, so.
After this episode, we'll have a part 2 where it's like, did you beat her? If the answer is no, we won't tell you.
I found our chessboard. It's in the garage, but I only have a black knight and a black pawn from 2 different chess sets. One is a wooden chess set and one is a plastic chess set.
That is also something really nice about this book. I just wanted to actually learn. It's been a long time since I wanted to learn chess because I was in chess club in elementary school and middle school and I was pretty good. But then we reached high school and there was this one kid who was just obnoxious. He took it way too seriously and would actively talk down people like while they were playing and call them stupid and go over to other people's, like one of those guys.
Rude. And
I didn't want to be in that environment. And so once I left chess club, I didn't chess. And so it's been a while.
Hey, well, you can beat me.
But it made me want to go to a used bookstore and pick up Chess for Dummies and to look at all the strategies.
I used to have one of those and I found it a couple of years back from elementary school.
That's pretty cool. But I don't know how this book managed to basically say a bunch of mumbo jumbo and still be interesting because I had no idea what was going on some of the chess games.
Well, with some of the openers, without a board in front of me with the pieces actively moving, when they were like, yeah, this piece to that, this piece to that. I'm like, okay, cool. So in my head, I can relatively visualize about where that is, but I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And with the openers, it's okay, well, the opener is you start with this piece and then you try to move these pieces like this.
Yeah. And there would be times where he'd be like, oh, and I moved my queen's pawn up too. Like you could keep track of that, but then it would go into like very specific ones. And some of the terminology is a little outdated too, so that doesn't help either. And so sometimes he would just give a string of proper nouns and you had no idea what was going on, but it was interesting.
For me, listening to it, I would zone out a little bit and I'd come back, and I'm going to say this very wrong on purpose. The Stradivarius opening where we move the 3 pawns to the K5 and the 3 F1 queen pawn, knight, bishop, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I bet Harmon's winning, but what is happening right now?
But that's the amazing thing. It's like you have no idea what's going on, but it is intense. You want her to win.
Bishop to B5. That's a hit? All right, king me. Battleship and chess and checkers all at the same time.
Oh my goodness. It did make me want to look up a couple of very specific ones, because I have a vague idea what the silicon is, but then they were like, oh, the reverse silicon.
There's a reverse?
And there was a couple of other ones where it's like, oh, it's a play off of this. And it's like, I don't even know. I'm going to toss up my hands and be like, okay.
I'm lucky that I know how the chess pieces move. And that you can do a castle. I know what a castle is. I used to love doing castles because I was like, this is the funnest random thing that you can do on the board. So I would try to do that instead of actually playing the game and lose very quickly.
But yeah, that was amazing. Somehow he could still build tension. You have no idea what's going on, but he could still build tension. And you could feel Beth's emotion, like her frustrations. And there would be times where he would make a move and she didn't expect it. And she's completely drained. And you're like, oh no, Beth! And then there would be times where she's obviously winning. And you're like, yes, go, go. I've never been interested in watching other people play chess, but that was interesting.
I wouldn't be interested in watching people play chess in person, but having this kind of dialogue off to the side is definitely a lot more fun.
It was so good. I don't understand.
Also, I don't think that I would get anything out of watching chess in person, just purely due to the fact that I would have very little idea what was going on until someone actually did a check, and then I'd be like, oh, I know what that is.
I'm really bad about being a spectator in any sport where I have to be quiet.
Basketball's my jam for spectating, man.
But Beth herself is awesome.
It's interesting reading the book compared to watching the miniseries, because in the book you are a lot more privy to her emotions because you get that inner monologue of what's going on inside her head, versus in the TV series, purely because in the book, exterior wise, Beth is very solemn and doesn't show very many emotions, and they kind of make that very clear in the book. And so in the miniseries, that is how she's portrayed. And so you get a lot less intimate knowledge with the emotions going on inside her head. You kind of have to pick up on little things here and there because for the most part, she's just stoic.
That's accurate.
Which is how she is. That's how it is.
But it's very different to hear her inner monologue in the book, especially in some of the scenes where it talks about her struggle with the tranquilizers and with alcohol, and how the tranquilizers kind of led to her alcoholism in a way.
Oh, they super did. It's that feeling of weightlessness, of that kind of numb feeling that comes over you, that it doesn't really matter because all of my emotions are now dulled.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. I don't have to feel. I can just be.
Yeah. And she's one of those people that she gets really addicted to depressants, which is alcohol and tranquilizers. And thankfully, she doesn't do anything harder than that. That would be very concerning.
I mean, at least in the book, she's very aware of this isn't good and I shouldn't do more than XYZ.
Yeah.
Versus in the TV series where she's like, I need more of this. I need some more of this. Yeah. More of this. Yeah. More of this. More.
And even when she was little and testing her limits, and at one point she took 6 of them, which, oh my goodness, child, please stop. It was so heartbreaking to read about the orphanage, and I want to go back in time and smack some people because that was probably accurate. I bet there is a law that had to come out to tell them to stop giving children tranquilizers.
I was thinking of the scene where she A, loses her virginity, and B, smokes a lot of pot. Right after that, when she's just drinking and drinking and drinking, and she's like, all right, cool. So I'm going to drink until probably this evening, and then I'm going to stop and I'll be good for a while. And then she stops and then is like, yeah, I'm good. I don't really need alcohol anymore for a while. We're good.
And it was interesting because it kind of gave this insight on relapse that I think a lot of people don't see very sympathetically when it's like, oh, you stopped. Why are you doing it again? You're being bad. Don't you know this is bad for you? You were doing so well. Where with her, she knows she should stop. But then there are times where she physically is feeling the symptoms of withdrawal, or something in her life has happened where she wants to numb those emotions, or that one time where she was just like, I just want to do this. And she went on this huge drinking binge, which was really bad for her. But it gives a much more understanding to the concept of relapse, because a lot of people say that to get to recovery, to be done, that relapse is actually a part of the process and not necessarily the end all be all. Like if you relapse, it doesn't mean you're not still trying to recover. It's just something that happens with addiction. And I think he handles it really well.
Yes, I agree. I don't know a huge amount about alcoholism just because it's not something I worry about about with my family, so I haven't done a huge amount of research into it. But it didn't seem like she was an alcoholic until after her mom died.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about alcoholism that some people don't think about is when they think of an alcoholic, they think of binges every night until they're blackout drunk and whatever. Like, that's alcoholism. But in reality, alcoholism is I have to have a glass every night or I won't go to sleep. And so that's where you see a lot with the tranquilizers. Like, she physically cannot sleep without the tranquilizer. That is where the addiction is the most deadly and the most problematic. And I think he plays that up really well because he points out the entire time she is addicted. She is stuck on these tranquilizers. And even though sometimes she can be like, hey, I don't need it, at no point do you forget that she's addicted to them. It's just handled really well. And I'm very impressed. Once again, this came out in the 80s. This is really good.
Yeah, it's really well done.
But she forms attachments along the way. And we see it in Mr. Sable. And we see it in Jolene, too. Which, interesting enough, in the end, I'm wondering if they were hinting a little bit that Beth might have been bi or maybe a lesbian.
Oh, no, I definitely think she was at least a little bit bi, because that definitely felt like, Jolene, you hot.
Yeah. So that was also thrown in there. So Mr. Sable, Jolene, and Mrs. Wheatley. She forms these connections, and then people just either die or leave her, and she keeps just getting thrown back into this perpetual state of I am alone. And let's not even get started on Mr. Wheatley, who's like, yes, you can have the house, just pay the mortgage. And then when she pays the mortgage, she's like, nope, actually, it's still mine. Like, she was paying off his mortgage, and for him to turn around and be like, no, you have to buy the house outright.
Such a jack. Oh my goodness. I think part of the reason he turned around and was like, nah, it's my house is because he was like, so I'm short on money and I need to sell. I technically still own this house that I can sell. I will steal that from this random child that I may or may not have adopted and sell it.
It's absolutely that he was out of money.
He's an atrocious human being.
What happened in Denver? I literally thought he got arrested or killed. I don't know what happened in Denver.
He's in a loveless marriage, right? And he wanted to be separated from his wife, so he was like, I'm gonna get you a companion. Peace. I'm out.
That was just so weird.
I hope to never see you again.
I really thought he was a criminal and he got arrested, and she's like, well, I'm never gonna see him ever again. But no, he was living a life, I guess. What a terrible person.
I low-key at first thought that he had a second family in Denver.
That also.
And had moved to be with them instead.
That also came to my mind. But he never mentioned kids or wife or anything. I think he literally just went to Denver to be away from his wife.
For sure. He was like, nah, man, peace him out.
What a terrible person.
Such a terrible person.
In my notes, I have awkward with kids because in the very beginning, I was like, oh, he must just be awkward around kids. No,
he's just a terrible person.
I need to go back and point out that he's a terrible person. Oh my goodness. And then she has different boyfriend Towns, which he gets dropped.
He doesn't really count as a boyfriend.
I honestly was so terrified he was going to do something to her.
Towns?
Yeah, I was so scared.
When they did the interview?
Yes. Like when I was like, oh, let's go up to the hotel room. I was like, she is a child. She is a child.
I didn't purely because I watched the miniseries.
Okay, that helps. I was so scared. Oh my goodness.
And the way it was portrayed in the miniseries, at no point was I like, this is bad. It didn't at all feel threatening.
It also helps that movies can set tones in a way books can't.
Yes.
That was my own paranoia.
I mean, if it had been the first time I had gone through that scene via the book versus the TV miniseries, I probably also would have been like, no.
Towns, this better actually be an interview. And it was. There wasn't even a creepy moment of, oh, there was no interview. Like, it showed up in the magazine. Nothing was wrong. Towns was a decent human being. That was good. That never showed up up again, and except in the miniseries he did to be gay ?
No, see, the way that they allude that he's gay in the miniseries is when they do the interview, they're mid-interview, and they're having that movie, our faces are very close together and we may kiss, sort of a scene, right? And then Towns' boyfriend comes in.
Oh.
Which I did not immediately construed as boyfriend. I just construed it as, colleague coming into the room. Because in no way did it feel like, this is my romantic partner. It was like, random man comes into room, and then Beth is like, oh my goodness, and then runs out. Until later when he shows up in Russia and they're talking and he's like, I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding or whatever with the room. And then they have a very platonic evening with sitting on the couch and him waking her up the next morning and giving her coffee and breakfast stuff and being the very platonic, I am your gay friend vibes in Russia. And I was like, oh, that was your boyfriend. Oh, I get it. We're there now. Okay.
I don't know how I feel about the fact they brought Towns back.
I liked it purely from how they set it up because she had just come back from Paris. This is specifically just the TV miniseries. In Paris, she meets back up with the girl that Benny introduces her to with the two friends where they all kind of hang out. She's in Paris and they hook up and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. And then it alludes to them banging because she wakes up in the bed with the girl and with clothes strewn everywhere and then has to rush down to the match against scary Russian dude and pops a couple of tranquilizers on her way down and then has like a hangover and can't focus through the entire match and then comes home and has the alcoholism and blah 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 and then she's back and then we get through all of that and the stuff with Jolene and whatnot and then we're in Russia and she's made it through all the matches and now she has to face scary Russian dude. She's very tempted to go back to drinking and she's stressed and she's scared and all of a sudden there's a familiar face and he's very cute. The actor that they got, he's absolutely adorable. Regardless, he pops up and it's like, oh my gosh, it's someone I know and you speak English and you're not Russian. And so it's a relief because they've been building all this tension and now she's stressed and now she has to face down the scary Russian dude and she doesn't think she can do it. Also, Towns also pops up right when they take the intermission with scary Russian dude. She's played some of the match with scary Russian dude and it's the intermission and she's going back to the hotel and then Towns is in the crowd of reporters that she has to walk through. And so it's very relieving, especially because it's followed with, he gives her the phone with Benny and the others on the line to help her come up with the strategies. And so it is the arch of things are getting better and she can do this and she's going to win.
Yeah, but what I like about the ending of the book is it's made very clear from the beginning of this book that Beth is alone. And if we take that as a concept into actual real life, yes, in a way, we tend to be alone. What's the whole saying? You go into your life with yourself and you can only leave with yourself or something like that. You come into this world alone and you leave it the same way.
Something like that.
But you get to this weird ambiguity of she's done this thing and she still has a plan of what to do, but Jolene's moving away. She doesn't have Mrs. Wheatley. She doesn't have Mr. Sable. She hasn't seen Towns in years. She might go back to Benny, but probably not. There's so much openness before her.
Benny is such an cat.
Yeah, but I wasn't surprised. That was very much man pride.
There's pointers to that all throughout because, you know, he's like, yeah, nice, friendly. And then, out of nowhere.
I mean, it's the same thing with Beltic.
Yeah, Beltic's a little bit better. Just a smidgen.
Not really.
Not by much, but he's a little bit better.
But it's man pride. They get to a point where they're jealous of her and don't date your rivals.
For real.
That's just a little too close.
I don't know if it was necessarily dating. Specifically with Benny, it felt like let's just bang. So let's do it. Woohoo. You're attractive. I'm attractive.
The way they were going about it was kind of dating. It was too long term. She never called anyone her boyfriends, but I mean, a couple of relationships are implied because she at least had some very strong emotions where she wanted to be closer to him and was actually kind of frustrated when he didn't want to be emotionally available because he was jealous.
At least with Baltic, it felt more of, I'm lonely and alone and you're now living in this house with me and I need some sort of emotional connection. With Benny, it definitely felt more, I don't want to say romantic, but definitely there was more emotional want to be with you feelings.
Yeah. You knew it wasn't going to end well. Not only do you have the whole, you're my rival, you also have the thing of you're a woman, and this is supposed to mean man's game. Fragile masculinity and all that.
Gotta love it.
But that also kind of made me really love where he's like, I'm doing this long distance call because he's calling from New York to Russia. That cost him so much.
And now Benny is homeless.
Because he was on the phone with her for an hour. Oh my goodness.
Worth it. Worth it.
I did kind of like that. So maybe she will go back to him, but I don't know.
I hope not.
They will need some couples counseling.
Or she could just not touch that again.
But it's very open. And it ends with her playing a random Russian man. Just a random dude, because that's all she wants to do. All she wants to do is play chess. That's just the ending. She's never had people stick around, but she's always had chess. And so, that's always been her passion. And there's even that one part that I really liked where she confronts the new child prodigy and she ends up beating him.
Oh yeah, and it's like, what are you gonna do after this? And he's like, I don't know what you mean. And she's like, after you win, after you beat everything, what are you gonna do after? And he's like, I don't know what you mean. And she just keep pushing it, and he's genuinely confused because he has no idea. It's just gotta get there. Chess.
Yeah, and he's even like, oh, by the time I'm 16, I want to be the international champion. And she's like, okay, so 16, that's really young. What are you gonna do after that? He doesn't even understand the question. It's a great way for her to look towards herself, I think, because she has to have something more than chess, because eventually she is going to become the international grand champion, and like everyone else, eventually someone will come and beat her, and what will she have then? It's very good.
It's a good time.
It's just all very good. It's very well done. Highly recommend.
Yes.
But most of the time it's very sad.
Yeah, it's a sad read. I mean, it's very interesting and thrilling and you get very into it, but overarchingly, it's actually rather depressing when you think about it.
But in the way I don't know, in the end, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's hopeful in the end, but it's just kind of it is what it is feeling.
It's definitely an is what it is feeling.
This is life. There are good, there are bad. There are choices you can make, and there will be times you regret them or times you're thankful for them, but it's life. You have to find something that you want to work towards. And she does. And it's just so many emotions.
So many.
Happen from someone who sometimes it reads like you're reading a textbook with how dry and non-judgmental the words are. It's very almost clinical sometimes. But there's still so much emotion there. Just to have this window into somebody's mind who's lost so much. But there's so much she just goes through. And she makes it to the end. And I think that's probably the biggest triumph is she makes it through all of the terribleness.
Alone in Russia against a scary Russian dude.
Yeah, and there comes a point where I don't want to say she had to believe in herself, but in a way, she was psyching herself out by being scared. And then falling back on the alcohol and the pills was not helping.
For real.
I was honestly so scared for her. And until she was like, I need to talk to Jolene. And then Jolene's like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to work out.
Jolene was like, you know what, sweetheart? We're going to fix this.
And I don't know how accurate it is to be like, yeah, addict, you just need exercise. But
I mean, even if it didn't fix it, I'm sure it did help immensely because the chemicals released from your brain from exercising, plus getting her out of the house instead of sitting in that depressing house with all of her dead mother's stuff.
And having a purpose.
Speaking from experience due to the global pepperoni at the moment, sitting inside my house and only going out to go to work is slowly driving me crazy. I have lost my mind. I just have a jar of marbles.
I feel like that was a turning point in the book in some ways. Because she always talks about afterwards trying to get exercise. And then like up to this point, like she's been really, really focused on chess. And you don't realize how focused on chess she was until she talks about going on walks, drinking water, talking to people. And you're like, wow, we have been pigeonholed.
Basic human needs.
And she talks about during the competitions now doing sit-ups and push-ups on small things. So she's still exercising during that. And it's like, yes, that was good. That is what you should be doing.
Why have you not been doing this?
Well, it's just like up to this point, you're like, yes, focus on chest, focus on chest, focus on chest. And then she starts focusing on other things. And you're like,
oh,
basic human needs. That's right. That's important.
I didn't realize you weren't just doing this.
There are other things you need to do.
You need help.
She could benefit from some therapy, probably.
Ooh, for sure.
I feel like she could probably find a really good AA group. I feel less like she would want one-on-one, but maybe like a help group. That would be good for her. She needs more social interaction.
Hi, my name's Beth. Hi, Beth.
Sorry, that just took me back to a Golden Girls episode where they sit down and it's one of those self-help things and a woman stands up and she's like, hi, I don't remember her name, Kimberly. It's like, hi, Kimberly, you're special. I feel like that was where that was going.
I was thinking more of Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Ralph.
Thanks, Satan.
Just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're bad guy. Thanks, Sangi. Oh my goodness. But yeah, this guy is mainly known for sci-fi books. And he's also written 3 books about billiards, which is technically where his background was. He wrote a billiards book and a sci-fi book, and then he wrote this one. Because he's like, I want to write another sports book.
Because billiards is a sport.
Because billiards is a sport. I mean, it is, but it's all complicated. But yeah, he was like, I want to do a tribute to the brainy women out there. And you know what? That Bobby Fischer was definitely inspirational. Beth Harmon.
Beth Harmon.
Just as a side note, Mr. Sable was my favorite character. He didn't like kids. He was to himself, but he was so proud of her. He was so proud of her. It was just so sad. And I didn't realize until the funeral, I thought she had sent him the $10. She was like, hey, send me $5, and if I win, I'll give you $10. I thought she had sent it, like it was a given. And then till the end, she was like, I never sent him the $10.
Beth, no.
My heart broke. That was just like a symbol of the relationship they could have had, but never did because both of them were introverted and very socially awkward.
Y'all.
It's just, so close. So close. The apple pie subplot.
The apple pie subplot. Jeez, high school girls.
I kind of liked it because she got there and she was like, I've finally done the thing. I've dressed up so nice and finally got to the apple pies. And it's like, you just sit around and watch a movie. This is actually really boring. And then she left. I like that she didn't feel bad that they were like, please don't come back.
Oh, these girls are boring.
This is not for me. I don't belong here. And I'm okay with that.
She's like, ew. This is what y'all do? That's subplot. It cracks me up.
Manuel. I'm curious if Manuel stopped contacting Mrs. Wheatley because he also had hepatitis.
Oh, maybe.
Because there is a couple of ways to get hepatitis. And I tried to look up how fast you could potentially die from it. And so there's a couple of ways to get it. I don't know how fast any of it interacts. So this is a lot on theory. And one of them is alcohol abuse. And it affects your liver. There's A, B, C, and so on, and each of them can come in a different way. One of them can obviously be a blood transfusion or some sort of thing, but you can also get it from an STD. And a part of me wonders if her relationship with Manuel killed her.
Maybe.
Because he just suddenly dropped off the face of the planet too. I don't know. I don't know if that was the implication, because that was a big thing in the 80s. STDs, mainly in the gay community, because they didn't use protection, because they didn't really understand STDs, and so that spread rather rampantly, and it was not great. So that's also the AIDS epidemic. That's another, because HIV, all that. Very sad. Use protection, kids. So I don't know if that was the implication, or the implication was she drank herself to death. Either one of those. Mrs. Wheatley's death was untimely. Wear protection, kids. Doesn't matter if you can't get pregnant. It's important for your health.
But my boyfriend told me I couldn't get pregnant if we had sex in the shower. I had a girl tell me that once.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I don't think that's right. I was in middle school too.
Oh dear, honey.
Don't think that's right.
Also, go get your yearly, women. Just go. It's fine. Get your tests. It's cool.
Do the thing. Please do the thing. Your health is important. We care about you.
Do the thing. Your health is important. That is the message here today.
I don't know who you are, but if you need to hear this, I care about you. I don't care who you are. I care about you.
This book has so many heavy, we've gone so many places because of all the heavy topics in this book.
There's a lot.
Wow. She's gone through so much. I can't get my head around this poor child, orphaned at 8. She already lost her father, and her mother talked very bad about them. And they had a terrible home life. And then her mom dies, and she's an orphan, and she gets stuck on tranquilizers. And that's a lot.
By the way, there are a lot of adult themes in this book.
There's a lot, and I don't even think we could go over it. This is an adult book for those of a mind to be able to read it. It's very sad a lot of the time, but it's a really good book. So if it's not something that would harm you mentally, I would recommend it. I don't know. It made me think about stuff more seriously, like goals and what is the purpose of life. That came up several times because she was like, what is the purpose of my life? And what are my goals? And then you sit back and think, well, what is the purpose of my life? What are my goals? And it's just so much. There's so much here. It's really good. I don't know if I've said that enough.
I want to say it's a good time, but it's an interesting read for sure.
Good in the English language does not properly express the emotion. But yes, it's a good time. It's the colloquialism behind it. But it's like, yeah, it's fun. No, it's not fun. It's not fun. This is not fun.
It is enjoyable in the sense that it makes your brain work in a way that could be construed as fun via the mental exercise.
I don't know. There's something about it where he handles the topics really well, which is nice. And then you go into it and you just have this out-of-body experience of this other person and going through their life and having moments where you have introspection about yourself, but also this other person. Like you've actually met this person and gone through some of the stuff with them and come out the other side as a better person. That's a weird, pleasant, but not fun experience. Fun's not the right word. I don't know what to say here, but it's a good book.
It is very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
In a good way. It really makes you think. It prompts you, I guess, in some ways, to care more about the people around you.
My general thoughts is it's capitals. Really good. I don't have any more general thoughts than that. I don't even think I wrote general thoughts in my notes because I just wanted to read the book so much to see what happens next. It's kind of cathartic in the way that tragedy is, where you go and you watch a tragedy and you have all these emotions, and some people feel better at the end because they've cried and that's why they like seeing these tragedies and going through that. That's kind of the same experience this is. You come out the end and it's kind of cathartic because you have felt all these emotions and maybe you've thought through some stuff in your life or something. I think that's the best way I can explain it. Wishing I was an English major like my husband and I could go on a long diatribe and say the right words here, but highly recommend. We're just gonna keep talking in circles, so let's go on to our one question.
I have a good one. I would like to know the process of basing a book off of a real male person and taking that and making it about a female person.
That was literally mine. Mine is like, I still want to understand the inspirations.
I want to know what the parallels are here. What points of connection did you draw from one to the other? How did we go from boy prodigy and his story to a completely different set of issues with being a prodigy in a man's world of being a woman?
I want more on his inspirations. Why the addiction? Why the death of a parent twice over? I want to know so much more about this in the thought process. And I could not find that much on it, which makes me really sad because I wanted to know.
I want to know, can you show me?
I want to know more about his process of making this book and all of the things he decided was going to happen and why he decided on those things or how those things even came into his mind. But overall, I think I would give this a checkmate out of 10. It's good. It's final. It's good. Yeah, I've said that word so many times. Don't do the drinking game. Don't kill yourself.
Don't do the drinking game.
For you, would it be castling out of 10? Because that's all you wanted to do.
I was thinking that. Yeah, that was actually, I was like, I should do something about castling because I already mentioned that I find that very enjoyable.
There we go.
Yep, castling out of 10.
Would you read this again? Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I need to watch the miniseries again.
I want to watch the miniseries. I still need a breather. It's a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
And so it's not something I necessarily would immediately pick up again, but maybe once a year for a good feel.
A good feel.
I don't cry, so I can't say a good cry.
A good thought process. I need a good thought process. I need an enjoyable read. I think you could consider it an enjoyable read.
It's a lot. It's a lot to process emotionally, but it's a nice feeling to process it. It's cathartic. It's good. You have to push past your comfort limits to grow as a person, so we did that. But have you read the book? Have you seen the Netflix miniseries? What do you think? Do you have any book recommendations for us? And were you in chess club in school? Tell us all about it in the comments below.
We care. Please tell us. We want to know.
If you like the video, hit like, and if you're enjoying yourself, go ahead and hit that subscribe for more. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You can keep up to date with us by checking us out on Twitter or Instagram, and you can help support our podcast by checking us out on Patreon, where for just $1 a month, you can get our bonus episodes, where we look at the movie adaptations to some of your favorite books. This month, we're exploring a romantic classic, Pride and Prejudice, and comparing it to a movie, a TV show, and a musical, and deciding which does it best.
Join us next time. We will be reading Barrist, written by Gail Carson Levine. Should be a musical endeavor.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I'm Sam Reiner.
And I'm Lizzie Sawyer.
And we hope to see you and a friend here next time.